caught wind, at least. White House aides appear to have known weeks ago about that meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer. A source close to Jared Kushner's legal team says aides and his lawyers started strategizing in late June how to handle the release of the emails connected to that meeting that we've learned Kushner was forwarded. And because of that coordination, those White House aides could now be facing scrutiny of their own. CNN senior White House correspondent Jeff Zeleny is live in Paris, where the president just left to head back to the state. So, Jeff, what does this all mean now for this White House?
Well, Kate, there has been one phrase and one answer that has been used virtually every time questions are asked of the White House about anything regarding this Russia investigation. It's, "I refer you to outside counsel." And the reason for that is the White House aides and spokespeople do not want to get sort of ensnared in this ongoing investigation. Well, that may have changed last weekend, because when the president was flying home from Germany, where he was attending the G20, the New York Times was first to report the existence, what we all know now about that a meeting in June of 2016 with the Russian government lawyer and Donald Trump Jr., as well as Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort. And on that Air Force One flight, we were told that several staff members helped with the response to that, and it brought them into the fray, if you will, of crafting a response to when they actually knew about that meeting. And we are told, CNN's Evan Perez and Sarah Murray reported, our colleagues reported this morning, that the people close to Jared Kushner have been strategizing and planning for how to respond to this release of all these emails for several weeks, dating back to mid-June. So now there is a potential that Baba Mueller, the special counsel here, could bring in White House aides who were involved in the crafting of this response to ask them about the central question here: who knew about that meeting, when, and why, and at what point? That is a central question that House and Senate investigators also want to know. It's ultimately going to lead to the question of, when did the president know about the meeting? Now, he has said, and the White House has said, that he only learned about it last weekend when that New York Times story came out. But there is growing suggestions and evidence that people inside the White House had known about it for weeks and were crafting this response. So, Kate, that's why there's some new worry in the West Wing today about if any of them will be brought into this widening investigation. Kate?
Yeah. Did they keep the president in the dark, or is the timeline off in what we're learning about when the president knew? Two important questions today. Great to see you, Jeff. Thank you so much. With me right now, White House reporter for the New York Times, Julie Hirschfeld-Davis, Robert Mueller's former special assistant at the Justice Department, Michael Zeldin, and former CIA operative Mike Baker, all here. Great to see you guys. So, Julie, what Jeff just laid out is why the timeline of the Don Jr. meeting and who knew what when is becoming increasingly more and more important. If aides were working with Kushner back in June and the president didn't know about the meeting until a few days ago, that would mean the White House kept the president in the dark. Do you see that with this White House happening?
Well, listen, I mean, there have been instances in the past with this White House where this very question has arisen, and there's been a real effort to insulate, as Jeff was saying, the legal issues and the Russia investigation from the rest of what's going on in the White House. And the problem for them now is that with this new timetable emerging, and we're learning that Jared Kushner's aides and others were sort of knew about this weeks ago and were crafting a response, that sort of Chinese wall is now showing signs of coming down. And it does raise the question of whether these aides who are working on this issue briefed the president about it, and if not, why not? Because this is obviously a very serious issue of, a year ago, this meeting having happened. There's a clear connection here to the allegations that the president is facing and that people around him and in his campaign are facing. So when did he learn of it? And if they did keep it from him, why did they do that?
Right, because it not only involves his top aide, Jared Kushner, one of his top advisors, it involves his son that we're talking about here.
It's his son-in-law.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, and his son-in-law, exactly, Julie. Michael, the fact that White House aides, they were strategizing with Kushner's legal team on how to respond to all this, and also the aides, as Jeff was laying out, they helped craft Don Jr.'s response aboard Air Force One coming back from the G20. Did that just open a whole bunch more people to the Mueller investigation? From the legal side of it, what do you see?
Well, probably they would be witnesses if Mueller thought that